This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Pendleton Whiskey, Bill Fick Ford, the WCRA, and Resistol. Born in the iconic American western town of Pendleton, Oregon, and taking its name from one of the most revered rodeos in the world, my absolute favorite rodeo, known for the grass, the Pendleton Roundup. Pendleton Whiskey is a modern celebration of a century-old tradition. Pendleton Whiskey is barrel-aged in American oak and cut with glacier-fed spring water from Oregon's Mount Hood. For an uncommonly smooth, rich taste and complex flavor, the Pendleton Whiskey brand honors a heritage that inspires us to live boldly, never lose sight of the values we believe in, and taste the moment, wherever we may be. The legacy of the American cowboy is forged in every single bottle. A taste of true Western tradition is always worth raising a glass to. Discover more at pendletonwhiskey.com. Oh, and Pendleton Whiskey is the official whiskey of ProRodeo and of the PBR. Pendleton Blended Canadian Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, Pendleton Distilleries, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Please drink responsibly. Bill Fick Ford, the #1 Super Duty dealer in the entire country, is still taking care of their customers. It's hard to get trucks right now, but there's some perks when you're the #1 Super Duty dealer in the country. You still got trucks. Go to BillFickFordHuntsville.com to get the no bull discounts that no one else is giving during this crazy time that we're living in. Bill Fick Ford is still the place to go. In fact, if you ask me, it's the only place to get a new Super Duty dealer today. Bill Fick Ford. Who wants to be Rodeo's next millionaire? It's time. That time again through the WCRA. You can win $1 million by nominating your rides or runs and earning points through the WCRA. Through the Triple Crown of Rodeo, the WCRA will award $1 million in cash prizes to any one athlete or collection of athletes who wins first place in any 3 consecutive WCRA major rodeos. $1 million is completely up for grabs. The Days of 47 Cowboy Games and Rodeo will be the second stop of the 2021 Triple Crown of Rodeo series. The event will pay out over $560,000 and will be held July 20th through the 24th in Salt Lake City. Get this, there will be 0 entry fees, people. You heard me correctly. No entry fees. The only way to qualify for the Triple Crown of Rodeo event is by nominating your rides and runs with the WCRA. Use promo code GAUGE10 for 10% off your next nomination. Again, that promo code is GAUGE10 for 10% off your next nomination. To learn more, just visit WCRARodeo.com and learn how you can earn a spot at the Days of 47 Rodeo and possibly be Rodeo's next millionaire. What?
What sets Resistol apart is the legacy of the cowboys who wear the brand. These traditions are passed down from fathers to sons, from heroes to future champions. Since 1927, Resistol has been handcrafting the finest American-made cowboy hats. Generation after generation, we live it every day.
This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradou.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we've got my man, Joe Beaver. I'm literally not going to say anything else besides Joe Beaver. If you guys don't listen to this one, you made a huge mistake. Check it out.
No, I'm good, man. I quit drugs. I quit caffeine.
Well, you're a better man than me.
I tell everybody, I say, why would you drink coffee when you're living on cocaine for a while?
Hey.
I mean, come on, really?
What
else is coffee going to do?
You get in the right circles, and that line gets pretty blurry. When in Rome, though.
So I told him, I said, man, it makes a long weekend when you stay up a month.
Yeah? Yeah, kind of the stuff people don't realize in rodeo.
Oh, yeah. I think it's funny now because those guys really think they're doing something on that Adderall and that them 3-day deals. Yep. And I look back and think, man, y'all ain't shit. I wasted more in driving than y'all ever done.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Adderall's the thing now.
You know what? And like we were talking the other day, I took John. You know, I got those boys I helped. Yep. John Douch and Kobe, the 2 black boys that live with us, stay with us, you know.
Yep.
So they had a roping over there Sunday. 40 guys. This is what they were wanting for. Okay, 20 fees, $2,500.
Yeah.
He took nothing out. Indicator. All right. So in my day, Fred and I used to put a rig together and send it to Kalispell, Montana, to the roping because it was $1,000 fees and added $5,000. That's a big deal.
Right.
$2,500, no money out. Right. You know how many ropers showed up? 15.
To the deal in Decatur?
15.
What?
I told John, he said, are we going to rope? I said, you're damn right you're going to rope. This is what you do when you rope for a living.
Yep.
You ever been everybody call, chance, everybody, well, how many are you going to have, Tyler? Well, how many in it? I said, Tyler, next year, we're going to get together and I'm going to help you, and we're going to add 20,000. And you know how many ropers we're going to take? 15.
Yep.
Those same 15 if they want to come. If not, we'll open.
It's a good idea, though.
But I'm tired of that. You know, the guys think they make this big deal anymore. Everybody wants something for nothing now. You know, they want to go buckle for not win. You know, it's just a.
I mean, there's a few guys.
Hey, and my buddies. I'm talking about my buddies weren't there. Like, you know, but people like Go Buckles within 30 minutes. Haven, Tough, Timber, Tyson. I just keep naming all these guys right there, and they want to rope for, you know, big money. I mean, when we roped, back when we knew we were going to win that money.
Yep.
It's like Henchy showed up, and I said, Henchy, we think today. I said something about the roping not getting nobody. He said, no, Joe Beaver, but he said they're going to pay me.
Yep.
Well, that's what you do.
Shane's got a good attitude about everything.
Oh, he's a winner.
Yeah, he's got his attitude. Some people think he's a little arrogant. I don't think he is. I think he really understands
the
game.
Game. Sometimes what he says, he needs to think before he speaks is all.
He's just Louisiana boy, Joe.
Yeah, but you can't. My dad told me years ago, you can erase what you write down. You can't bring back what you say. Yeah. And I've been on it. I've said it. You know me.
Yeah.
But anyway, you pitch, I'll catch.
Oh, I think there's a lot we can get into. So pretty excited to talk about it. I mean, just what you were talking about how different the game is now. You know,
yeah, it is different.
I wasn't alive in your heyday. I mean,
yeah. No, 90s,
I know it.
I was
barely alive,
yeah.
but back in the 80s, like the whole world was different.
Yeah.
And I mean, you said the thing about the cocaine and all that, but that was the deal.
Oh yeah.
Not even in rodeo, just everything.
No, it was a different lifestyle. You know, it was, and they talk about now how much more fit they are and how much better shape and how much more of an athlete they are. Well, you know, we had to be pretty fit and pretty in shape to live the way we live and still compete.
Right.
You know, Mike Arnold lived with me and Fred lived with me, and you know, we might have went at it a different way, but we might have not roped till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But we roped all night. You know, we practiced. I mean, we went at them, and I think the reason we're so tore up now, body-wise, is the size of the cattle.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are fit. Yeah, they're fit and they're in good shape, but, you know, I can name you a handful of guys that are Shane Hanchy size, you know, and Haven Midget size that not only never got to go buckle, never made the national finals because of the calf sizes, you know. So they were just as athletic and just as good a shape, but when you're running away 260 and 280 every day instead of 170, 180, it's going to tear you up, you know.
Yeah.
But I think, we lived the 80s were just a different lifestyle. I mean, we had fun. We had a great time. We had a blast. But I think we were a little more after every dollar we could find, because that's what we did was rope, and there wasn't, anything else.
Right.
I mean, I remember in the 90s when Sam Applebaum was was an agent back then, got Jim Sharp and me and Tough and Ty and Charmaine, and we kind of had a pact, and then we kind of started the sponsorship deal, if you want to know the truth. I mean, it was, we all got together and said, okay, Sam said, nobody takes less than this, and if they'll sign all of us, we'll do all a deal together, but if you go do one, you can't take less, and you got to, kind of, and before that, it was every dollar we could get, we had to have. Yeah,
well, and to step back, right, like, you talk a lot about roping and everything. I mean, the commentation, anybody can ask me who my favorite timed event commentator is, going to be you, just because of the detail you put into it. And I don't think you can do that unless you really have played high level at the game, right? Like you see other people commentate.
No, I just like watching football or baseball. Yep. If that guy's really played, there's an exception to every rule. There's a Joe Buck guy and a couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to me, I get way more out of it when I watch a guy that's been in those trenches and explaining to me about how the offensive line missed that block or why that guy got taken down, you know. And
right.
Yeah, I agree to that. Yeah.
I mean, and even if you roped at any level, even that's a step up from having, I'll never name names because I love everybody. Our industry's so small, you can't name names or it comes back on you.
It does.
But it's just a huge difference, right? So when you know how to watch the cattle, you understand the score, you understand the draw, you understand everything you're looking at, the way that you're able to articulate that in real time, fast, boom, 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 15 guys, it's like there's nobody who commentates that in rodeo, right? Everything's dry and basic. You look at football, basketball, it's not like that. And you bring that element to it, which is why I like
and
it.
know, sometimes I get some emails and texts, you know, about you back off my horse or leave my kid alone. And it's nothing personal, but I'm not describing or saying anything that people aren't seeing.
Right.
You know, and I had a guy, when I first started doing this years ago, you know, my dad, I remember he said, people like me, we know what we're seeing, but if you can't make what everybody's watching a little bit entertaining, a little bit, you know, eventful, but also describe it, you're not going to get the other people to be involved.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're going to see it and you know what I'm talking and see it, and I could throw a whole different lingo out there and you got it.
Yep.
But, you know, she may not have it, so I got to have it both ways, I feel like.
Well, no, absolutely. And isn't it weird how sensitive people are? Like you wouldn't think.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
When you're me and don't filter yourself much, you know what I mean?
Well, why should you? I mean, I don't filter myself, and I turn Facebook messages off because people come at me like I wouldn't believe it. And they do it with you, obviously, for way longer
But
than me.
Here's another thing, and you just brought something up, I think. It's the difference in people now back then as opposed to what I say, you know, like I was telling some kids this the other day. Kids 30-something years old, right? I said, you know, really and truly, the generation after me was about the last generation that could go have a blast and not be just spotlighted.
Yep.
You know, you guys are under microscopes of how you act and where you're at and if you're in a fight and if the cops showed up or whatever.
Right.
You know, back in my days and the days that I think the generation after me, you know, maybe even half of another one ever had fun. But it's such a different lifestyle we live now, and everybody they're after you because number one, you're doing what you want to do.
Yep.
Number two, you're successful what you do. So
and saying it how I want to say it,
and you're open up where you do your own deal. So you've got 3 spots right there. They're going to hit at you now. They've hit at me all my life for everything. From the way when I first came in, about the way I roped and the way, you know, nobody ropes like that. You can't win nothing in there. You know,
right.
Okay, well, I'm going to see how it goes, you know. And it's the way I went, the way I lived. I mean, hell, I lived way wrong for the way, but it was the way I did, and I didn't hold back from it, you know. I mean, I went through a lot of things, and I've done talks, and I don't hold nothing back. And then I had the most fun you could have that way, you know, being just crazy, and we'd rope to win, but then it was the bar, and we'd stay up all night and party and shoot dice and drugs and drink, and I went through all that. And then I had the other way, the most fun you could have, when Brody came along and Jenna. You know, then we went from staying out all night to go to carnivals after I roped.
Right.
You know, and enter, it sounds stupid, but I'd enter some rodeos, you know, this one had a good water park. Or this one had, you know, we'd go to Kissimmee in the winter and go to those rodeos. Nobody went, but we go to Disney World.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I've lived every way of the fun. And then I've been as devastating, as down as you could be also. And people, you'll see, Chance, people will hit at both ways on you. You know, okay, hit at me for the good I did and the way I lived, or hit at me for the bad I've done. But they'll hit at you both ways, and you're going to get a lot of that with what you do.
Yeah, well, and you get it from both sides, right? Like, you get the hyper, like, how could he? How could he do that at the bar? Kid, and I'm world champion. Of course I'm going to party. Not everybody's going to do that.
No, and like
or
I
they
said,
lie and say they don't do
either
it.
way, they a lot of them say they're not. They're the glass, you know, house. And I mean, my dad always said, hey, rocks break glass, they don't bounce off.
Right.
So if you're back behind the glass, be ready to get hit every now and then. It's just part of it.
Right.
But I think that's a big part of, you know, the hypocrisy, if you want to kind of be, of our game and our business, you know. But man, I've had as much fun as you could have both ways, and I lived that way and it was great, and I made it through it, and I lived this way and it was great, and I made it through it, both good and bad, you know, because man, I've been at the bottom of the barrel. I OD'd and no big deal with me at the airport in El Paso. I fell out. Well, guess what? When I came back, I had a whole different look at life. You know what? That I am gonna leave all that alone because that almost killed me.
Right.
And to really just pinpoint you and make sure I paid attention, God just whopped me on the right shoulder.
Yep.
Dislocated my shoulder. That's all I had. My right arm was it. If I couldn't rope, who was I? Nobody. Yeah. So when I came away from all that and got healed up and got with a buddy of mine that was a big time counselor, and everything, and Ronnie Wilkson got me off the straight away, and he said one day, okay, I got you lined out, but he said, do me a favor. I said, what's that? He said, you go home, and Brody was just little, 6 months, little. He says, by then, you go home and you pick that boy up and you look in his eyes. If you can't quit, don't come back to me. Because you got to do it now. So I tell everybody, Brody saved my life. And when he and Jenna saved my life coming in, and then he almost killed me again when he died. Because when Brody died, it would have been real easy to turn back into that guy I used to be.
Most people do because they can't handle
have
the pain.
The money now to do it. I could have just floated away and got back on it, got to drink and got back. My gambling people disappeared. You know what I'm saying? So I think when I tell somebody, hey man, hold up, I know how good you got it or how bad you got it. I really do know the highs and the lows of life, So not that I'm any better than anybody else for making it through. Don't get me wrong, because I'm not. It's a challenge every day. But I think you choose to get up and come in here and do this job and do it good, regardless of what the outcome might be, right? So see, that's what makes you different from other people. And that's what makes you unique, and you're this show unique. And it's one of the only reasons I said I'd do it, because I've listened to enough of them to see that it's not a BS paint job going over a crappy old house that we're trying to sell new. And that's part of life. And I think that's what the guys miss out today that we lived through in the 80s and 90s, that it made us tough.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't. And I think the most valuable thing, right, just kind of listening to what you're saying and even things I've thought about myself when I wanted to start this is the outcome doesn't matter, right?
The outcome is not. It's about the battle going through. I tell everybody, it's about life living it. If you can't get up and enjoy what you do every day, you can find something else that you do enjoy. And if you enjoy it, you can put your heart into it.
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing, right, like you being transparent and authentic is the only way like Joe Beaver can do anything for anybody. Because if you're not, and you hide behind smoke and mirrors, and you don't really tell the authentic truth about what you've been through, what you've done, good, bad, and different, the highs, the lows, then nobody can get anything from you, right? You can't benefit the world at all.
Well, I think then you're just throwing out there, those fake passes, and if you can't catch them, they're not going to help you. Right. And look, man, as well as I do, life throws you curves. And you deal with what comes to you. But it's very hard to deal with things and to maybe, not saying prosper from bad things, but to move on if you're lying to yourself first,
Absolutely. Well, and I'm not an overly religious person. I don't know how religious you are now or not, but like if you delve into like the Bible at all, man, God's not choosing the perfect people. He's choosing freaking tax collectors. And
look where all the people he picked that he really used.
Look at Saul Paul, one of the most influential people in the whole book. Dude was a freaking disaster.
Hey, if
you only have to read 5 chapters to figure that out.
If you just look at the good 12 picked out the deal, there wasn't he was the preacher. He didn't need any other ones. He needed guys that could deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's pretty interesting if you like. I don't subscribe to a whole bunch of the religion stuff because a lot of it's just people trying to profiteer off of feelings and emotions.
Yeah. That's a whole story we could do there. You're right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But like the principle, like if you just look at the one thing that I think everybody needs to, and I mean, I've been through a lot of crap and I've made my own mistakes, and I turn to that. We all do, right?
Yeah.
You probably did.
Yes. Hey, look, let me tell you something. I can tell you for real. If you don't have any, family's family. Okay. Me and you deal with family, how we have our family, how we have to deal with it. But if you have no faith in the back of it, you got nothing. Yep. Because there's going to be times that no person or no thing can help you, but you can fall back on your faith and you got something to live on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and it's when you get wrapped up in worldly stuff, right?
Yep.
Fame, even if it's rodeo fame and partying and drugs and like all those things that no one really admits, but about everybody I know has fucked with that stuff a little bit, you get really lost.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, it's 5 years and you haven't prayed one time or something like that. And then just the whole idea that there's this thing called grace and you can fall right back into it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a unique principle.
It
Especially
is.
now with how weird the world is. We need that more than ever.
Oh, I think it's one of the reasons everything is so scattered and so lost, you know? I mean, you just look back, and I take Willard Moody, for instance, because he was one of the guys that really helped me through a lot of stuff, you know, and he was when I first heard he's a preacher and stuff, you know, like I was like, Willard Moody, you know, I've heard all this. But you know what? He evolved into what he is. Right. And he's still a guy that, you know, I could call him for 2 or 3 years after I got straight and got to go on rodeo and had my family and stuff. There'd be sometimes nights I'd call 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And Willard was always, he was that guy for me, to the go-to guy, but he was straight descendant from, he was sent to help me. It wasn't like, you know, I picked him. Hell. And life just makes you choose. You choose good or bad. I think the biggest choice and the biggest hardest step I took, it was after I lost Brody. Right. Because it was then that I said, okay, do I choose every day to get up and be happy and figure and help somebody or try to do what I can do? My business is roping, you know, get the right horse for this kid. You're going to make money. You got to make a living. But do I do that? Do I do clinics and help them kids rope? Do I enjoy life? Or do I just be a miserable, hard to be around bastard that doesn't want nobody around? That I can shut my gate and say, you know what, to the world, you know.
And we all know somebody who chose that route.
Yeah, and it don't work. You know what I mean? It's just, for me, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try to wake up every day and be as happy as I can be and live as good as I can be, because, you know, I always said your kids are your worry every day. Every morning you wake up, you know, somewhere some parents worry about, oh, hope the kid has a good day or makes it through it. Well, guess what? That's one thing I don't do anymore, because I know he's already there. He's in a better place. I've heard all that, you know, but I don't worry about that. So I need to worry or try to give my stuff to some good spot. And it's, you know, I like to help the kids rope, and I like to, you know, I got John and Kobe Douch, and we try to get them to better, you know, where they are. And there'll be another kid come along maybe. And if they're not, I just want them to feel like I've done what I could do to help our sport that, you know, this sport made me. You know, I grew up on 4.5 acres in South Texas, and I always tell everybody roping was my way out of the ghetto. I didn't live in the ghetto, but, you know, I didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
But roping is all I had. So I think giving back what I can to it is what I live for every day. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And you can just listen. Like, I'll use the most recent NFR, because I was there on the ground and got to hear it all, and like just the amount of detail and passion you put into it and commentary, right? Because the commentaries, it's hard to breathe much life into that, especially with rodeo, because rodeo is so it's almost analog, right?
It's like a pizza. You put a lot of different toppings on it, but it's still a pizza.
It is, right? And there's only so many ways to dress that up.
Yep.
But one of the ways you can do it is being excited for the guy who's going and pouring in a bunch of detail and inflection in what you're doing. And you do that better than anybody, right? It's like, I like Donnie Gay, but, you know, as soon as Donnie comes on after you, the level's just a little down.
Yeah.
But
and like I say, for bull riders, in bull riding, it's hard because some nights are 12 buck off. Yeah. So Donnie's got to really be energetic and pumping him, and he's good at that, boy. He sells the part of it,
and he
helps us. Yeah, and he knows everything through. But I think I think we see it a lot. You know where I see it, I think, more than anything, is basketball.
Yeah.
I don't see the guys that know that game calling it to where we can get a little, you know, because there's a lot of lull going up and down a lot of times. And to me, that'd be a point, looking at it from my, you know, a commentator look, you know, I'd say, boy, that'd be a spot to throw in other stuff, and they kind of leave us hanging, you know.
Football's great about it. Football has it down better than anybody, but you've got specific action every 15, 20 seconds.
And really, if you stop and think, most football games have players that are doing the play-by-play.
More and more.
Color, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key. And a lot of people, and getting to see Trevor do some of the stuff he did for the NFR and Cowboy Channel was really great. And like seeing people come back to the sport to breathe more life into it is what it needs. That's why I think in the last 5 to 8 years, there's been more growth in rodeo than ever before.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, you know, the kid stuff has gotten really, you know, maybe a little too much because there's no time off anymore. Used to we had time.
Crazy.
We played football if you're going to play, and you could go a little bit, or you could have a time. Now there's no time off. You know?
I mean,
it's crazy.
At least in Texas, and I'll never forget the thing you said about if you aren't roping in Texas. It was one of the funniest things ever, and the most true because I grew up roping in Colorado. I didn't know.
Yep.
Very good. I'm two guys maybe.
Yep.
Haven is an anomaly, but most everybody comes from down here.
Yep.
And we roped in the summer, and that was it.
Yep.
I only roped in the summer, and then it was football.
Yeah.
Other sports.
And you know what, Chance? People down here don't understand that.
No.
And people up there take it the wrong way when I said that, because what I meant was they don't rope up there year round. No. Down here, partner, there's no break for kids no more.
No.
They not only do they rope year round, they compete year round. And up there, people don't realize it doesn't happen. The weather doesn't let it. Number one. And number two, people up there, they're not just hooked into most people of the year-round deal because they do play sports. They wrestle. We don't wrestle down,
a little bit, but
not like up there.
Where I'm at, wrestling is freaking religion.
That's what
it's
I'm
like
talking
football
about.
Down here.
That's what I mean. And then the other sports take over too, so it's just not the same, as up there.
No, it isn't.
And when I said it all, they blowed me, killed me on all that. I took it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I've been through it. I said it. Was taken out of the wrong, but
it's the truth. And back then, I could have been offended by it. But I wasn't, because I was like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Because I knew everybody down here. I was like, yeah, they're way better.
Well, and I had Chisholm Thurston, my buddy in Nebraska, and Chisholm, he would tell me all the time, he said, man, they don't get it. We just don't rope like y'all do down there. And now you can go to a barrel race, a kid's barrel race, or a youth rodeo every week, and so now I think going back to what you're talking about rodeo being better the last 5 or 6, I think the fraternities now, okay, it used to be when the fraternities, you try to find somebody to sell a horse to after that because now they're just peddling them off right and left because kids are buying them thinking they're going to take fraternity or derby horses right to the rodeos.
Oh, absolutely. Because they see a few girls do it.
That's right. 2 do it and they sell 100 by it,
Yep.
But that's helped that industry, I think. Now we got the junior bulldog steer wrestling deals going. Steer wrestling numbers were down terribly.
Yep.
That's helped that a lot. We got free bareback clinics going on and free because there's no bareback riders, So I think what you said is right. I think all of this plus, I'm going to throw something else in.
Yeah.
You doing shows like this lets people kind of, kids and stuff, a lot, whatever, high school, college kids listens, and realize that rodeo is
cool.
It is, and it's a way to make it.
It is.
And without you doing this and without the Cowboy Channel filming a lot, I think that was keeping it, suppressed too. I think y'all have opened that up, and I'm glad y'all have.
Well, and I'll when I started this whole thing, I didn't know how many people were out there who would appreciate it. Mm-hmm. When you start seeing 8 zeros behind the total number, you start seeing there's millions of people who would listen.
Yep.
It's like, okay, this sport's way bigger than I realized.
Yep.
Because my mind was just at like, because I tried to get away from it a few times.
Yep.
Like, it's just too closed off. It's too dogmatic. It's too this. And I still found myself right back in it, but same as everybody else in my family, but and same as you.
Yep.
But that's the wrong mentality. It is not. There's millions of kids and millions of people out there who want to be just like you, or want to be just like you, name the person.
Yep.
Want to be just like Haley, like Ivy, like Jess Lockwood, anybody.
Yep.
It's crazy how big this sport is. It's way bigger than any of us thought it was.
We were just talking about this the other day. Jen and I was in a parking lot, and we were driving at Abilene. I've got Kobe at the Texas high school finals this week at Abilene. Kobe, my boy Kobe. So we're driving through the parking lot, and I said, if tomorrow all barrel races, all junior rodeos, all rodeo events, and all were just done, never another one, Dodge and Ford Motor Company would probably go out and take a big hit. They may not go out of business, but partner, as many trucks as they sell to that,
I'm telling you,
and that's what
There's a reason Bill Fick is the number one
right.
Super Duty dealer in the country.
That's right.
And I'm just saying that because I love Bill to death.
And when he started,
who's buying those
when we
trucks?
started, he was trying to get, he'd have 4 or 5 a month, and now he's probably got 120 on order waiting because of the chip deal they can't get right.
Oh, I got one of those trucks chilling in somewhere.
There you go. You're waiting on one, But what I'm saying is, you're right. I think part of the problem was kind of coming from us because we maybe thought it was too of a slice of the pie business, but we got a whole pie business in rodeo.
Oh, we do, and I found it real interesting. Madison Uthier, the little gal.
Yeah.
And if you just take a step back and look at the depth of she's a good example.
Yes.
It's fresh in my mind
Yes,
because
she
I talked
is.
to her yesterday.
Yes.
Look at all the opportunity a girl like that had. Mom, U.S. Polo, one of the best ever. Depth. That girl, movies, modeling.
Whole deal.
She could have picked anything in the world to do. She would have had her parents' support, all the financial backing she needed. And this little girl chooses, I want to be a world champion breakaway roper. With all that,
and see, just
what does
like
that tell you?
just like that, that's a whole new door. It's opened so much for so many girls that after college were done.
Yeah.
They were done. You know, some girls aren't made to ride barrel horses. They just can't ride them. I mean, barrel horses aren't easy to ride. You know that. I know that. I mean, the last thing I want to do is get on a barrel horse, try to figure something, you know?
Right.
So, and then a lot of them don't have finances to buy those dirty
Especially
good ones. Nowadays.
You can't even buy a prospect.
That's right. So I think the breakaway has opened, you know, I started having girls. I had 15 and under at my junior opens, kind of before anybody else did. Everybody's like, man, it's all 19 under. I said, no, a 14-year-old girl cannot beat Madison and Josie and Jordy and whoever else is 19. You know what I'm saying? Down
absolutely.
Here. They're not going to beat them. So I started having it split. Well, now both are as big because we've got those younger ones looking at the Madison Uthiers, at the Jackies, at the, you know, making the finals and stuff and seeing that they win a lot. And it's just going to get bigger and better. So guess what? Now we've opened a whole nother, or brought a whole nother piece of pie into the deal. And I think we're just going to keep growing with it.
I think so. Yeah. And the longer we go, like the world, the mainstream world with this crazy, call it what it is, but it's pushing people away.
It's bringing them back to us.
And it's bringing them back here.
It is.
And so people are fascinated. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have reached out to us who have nothing to do with horses or rodeo, and they're like, this is fascinating. Tell me more.
Even the TV's done that, helped us too now. Because
look at the numbers Cowboy Channel got on the NFR. That was out of control. I wouldn't have believed it unless I saw it.
Me neither, because I've been in it a long time.
Yep.
I did the first one in 99, I think, when first time I was hurt. I did it in 99, and then I started in 05 or whatever, 6, doing them all. So
CBS Sports.
Yeah. So I never thought it would be as mainstream. You know, maybe it's not the evening news,
right?
You know, 6:30 or 7, 6 o'clock. But I'm telling you, it is getting to the foot in the door to where it's going to have a big impact on the people you just said. The people that might have known rodeo or go to the rodeo and watch, but don't really have horses or, you know, trailers are involved. But they're getting watched now, and they're getting more involved that way.
Yeah.
But I'll go back and I'll tell you, because I don't do anything half-assed, not know what I'm into. I'm telling you, things like this right here, this podcast that you do with the right people, with the right ways, that's all helping that whole pie come together.
It is, and that's the only goal, right?
Well,
I mean, the only goal for it.
Yeah, but here's the deal too: if you don't have the guts to step out here and try it and take your beatings, you can't keep going with it.
Hey, man, I didn't for 2 years. I could have started this now 3 years ago, but I was like, I'm not putting myself out there for all that.
That's what I mean. Because you're going to get it.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Chance. If you're successful at something you do and you like what you do, there's haters out there.
Yep.
Jenna's always said there's haters in everything, every business, every world. No matter if you're construction business.
Yep.
You know, I got a buddy of mine's got a construction business. He's got used equipment. He paid for it all cash. He underbids everybody. Yep. They hate him, but he's making money. But he's not out there in the brand new stuff. You know, 8 guys standing around watching one guy work. He's got 2 guys out there, you know. So, in other words, whatever we do, I feel that if you're going to have the haters out there, but you have to deal with the haters to get the lovers.
I agree.
The ones that love your show, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And it just comes down to, it's a percentage, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do you really care what 5% of the people who absolutely hate your guts think if you've got 95% of the people who support what you're doing? It doesn't matter if it's roping, barrel racing, whatever we want to call this. It doesn't even matter. It's like everybody gets so fixated on the 5%.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Got kids have all this pressure now.
Yep.
And they get so fixated on that stuff.
I even tell people that in my clinics. Yeah. You know, I tell people all the time in my clinics, hey, listen, hold up. You know, or mom or dad, they mean well, but they'll be, you know, and I'll say, well, just a minute, hold up. This kid already knows that you probably overspent on trailer.
Yep.
Overspent on horse. You're going way more than maybe you can, and you don't think that's enough pressure? Don't jump on them and expect, you know, every time to be perfect when this kid's probably got way more pressure than you can imagine.
Yeah,
you know,
and guilt.
Yeah, and thinking, are there one of them's playing select ball, one of them's rodeo, and y'all are doing all you can. people don't realize. It's almost like when I was young. Okay, we didn't have a whole lot. I mean, we had enough, but we went. But I knew that if I didn't win that week, then it was going to be hard for me to go the next week.
That's how it was for us.
Y'all grew up the same way, probably. So
we didn't get to go to very many rodeos.
Thank you.
And I didn't realize it back when Ivy and I and my other sister Paige were rodeoing. Like the time in our life, it was 2006, 7, 8, and 9. This is the worst financial times in this country. Couldn't figure out why we couldn't go to the junior rodeos and why we're putting quarters in the truck.
Yep.
Nobody had any freaking money.
Nobody had,
at that time.
And but yet was doing all they could to get you to them. So that's
everything.
That's what I'm saying now.
Over-leveraging on horses, writing bad checks, knowing they were going to be bad, and you don't appreciate that stuff as a kid because if you got decent parents, they're not showing you.
They're not going to let you see it. I remember writing a check for a cutter for Brody one day for $80,000. I never gave $80,000 for a horse for me in my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I made a living on them, and I bought a lot of cripples and a lot of older. I could get by them. I liked them.
Yeah.
But I thought nothing of doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So we worry. You're right. We worry about that bottom percentage, but really and truly, the broad picture is, I had a man tell me one time, if you can get up in the morning and you go to brush your teeth and you look in the mirror and you don't duck, you got things okay.
Right.
I appreciate that because I've brushed my teeth in the mirror and not wanted to look.
Right.
I've ducked from that guy in the mirror. I'm like, oh, that guy, he's terrible.
Right.
So I can appreciate that. But I think our kids, if they get to live like that, they'll be a lot better too. Just don't worry about the people and what they're going to say and what they're going to do because it's going to happen.
It's just in your face because of this social media thing and these things we got in our pocket.
I can't even imagine growing up.
That's the problem.
I can't even imagine growing up with all the stuff that goes on now. The filming everybody and you can't disagree. You can't voice your opinion. You can't do anything without somebody filming it and putting it out there.
No, look at the fight that happened a couple months back at the rope.
Yeah, same thing. I mean,
Forever.
It's just,
I'm not going to say his name. We all know his name, but he's never going to be able to recover from that because he flipped on Facebook and there he is hitting the dirt.
Yep.
First of all, what were you doing? That guy's 350 pounds.
And the easiest going guy that I have has been with me 7 or 8 years. Jenna put him through college.
Yep.
Just the most easy going, and that's, but nobody will ever know the whole deal unless you were there. So like you said, they're going to form their own deals and it's always going to be there,
Yep.
And then we've seen it the other day with the other one.
Yep.
Come on, people. Really?
It's kind of funny because this is not a new phenomena in the world, but it's pretty new in rodeo. There's not a whole bunch of that video and the fights.
And that's the deal. If I'd had a camera in my days, all the fights I see the guys I rodeo with.
Oh, absolutely.
I rodeo with Steve Duhon.
Yeah.
I rodeo with Todd Fox. And I rodeo with all them. I rode the Doran camps. I mean, they didn't play around.
No,
it was for real.
Yep.
So you're right. What they have to deal with now is not. It's hard on them.
No, and your kids lose their innocence immediately the second that they. Look into that. And then there's these things like shame and comparison, and especially in rodeoing, like if you're one of those kids who doesn't have the money and the rigs and then you suffer from that comparison so much. And the horses now, it's terrible.
Yeah. It's terrible. I tell you what else is bad. It's like, and I tell my boys this all the time. I said, look, man, my mom, I remember telling me one time, don't matter what you pull up in or unload, it's what you walk out of the arena with.
Yep.
And I tell them all the time, it doesn't matter. If you can win, you can make it.
Yep.
And if you're polite and you're friendly, you can make it.
Well, everybody's accessible.
Yep.
Like, look at how accessible you are, or any of the top guys. You can go to a jackpot in Texas, and you're going to run into somebody who can give you 5 minutes of their time. They will give you 5 minutes of their time, and it might change your roping forever.
Yep. Yeah, it's like yesterday, and we got a couple of days to kill, from Abilene. So, I called Marty, and I said, hey, you give me home? And he said, yeah. I said, man, I got a couple of days to go. He said, oh, come on down. He said, let's rope. I need to tune up. But Marty could help, was telling Kobe some things.
Yeah.
And I didn't, Marty's got a lot on his plate, fixing to leave and all this, and he roped.
And
we worked on him a little bit,
Yeah.
And then he was done. But he stayed 20, 30, 40 minutes and helped Kobe.
Yeah.
That's the difference in our sport right there.
That is the only difference. And there's certain guys who don't want it to be like that, right? They want to do the superstar thing and the not be accessible and try to be like the basketball and football players. That's the biggest mistake ever because that'll kill our sport.
Well, and I'll tell you something else, gents. You think about this. We're not that mainstream TV. We're not that big contracts. Some, a lot of the people. So we're still we're still a people's sport, and people have money, and people buy tickets, and people will sponsor you if they like you and, help you. And people are what we have to remember we deal with. We don't deal with the media and the big hoopla that those few stars deal with, right, in their sports. So if we try to make it that, what you just said a while ago, we take the personal out of it and we take rodeo away from rodeo, guess what we have?
Nothing. Well, and there's some people, not athletes and all that, who are really pushing that agenda and not focusing on exactly what you said and focusing on the bigger things, and that's going to be a mistake.
I think you're right. I do. I mean, who knows? I mean, I've made plenty of them, but it's not like, it's like the TV deal. I love doing the TV, and I think the main reason I like doing it is because maybe I can get those 5 or 10 people watching that really didn't know what they were watching to enjoy the team rope and how horse faces, or why the guy's not flagging them, and stuff like that keeps it interesting. But I don't think we can do that with the other way, where, like you're saying, where those few guys want to be untouchable and they want to have, all the big stuff. And look, man, nobody won anymore. In my career, I was lucky. During my career, I think I got to see 2 of the greatest guys at their end of the arena that ever competed. I competed against and with Ty Murray and Trevor Brazil. I think I'm lucky because I think I got to see the very best at that end will ever be in 3 events. And the very best at that end in 3 events. 4 if you count healing. Because the first time he made the finals he was healing. So I think I can honestly say I've seen the best and the biggest. And, those 2 guys weren't the problem guys.
No.
Those 2 weren't the guys that thought they were untouchable and wanted to be different. You know what I mean? JB, look at JB Mooney. JB, friend, I think JB's he's maybe one of the greatest bull riders ever. But you know what's more important than that? He's at Fort Smith the other night and bucks off to win the rodeo on a bull never been ridden. Guess what he's doing for an hour? Signing autographs, talking to people. That's the greatest.
He's got a different mentality, though.
Way different. But he's sitting around there when he.
I actually mean for the better, right? Like I don't know.
I do too. That's what I mean. I think he's kind of like me. He's a different, similar, but it's a different good. I mean, but
I think it is good.
We're different. I mean, I never was mainstream regular. I always told them all the time. They always say, "Oh, he's such a poor sport. That guy sucks. Look how he does." I said, "Hold up a minute. Do you know how many bills I have this week coming up? Are you going to pay them for me?" Well, no. I said, give me 5 minutes in because I just cost my family and I money. It wasn't I messed up and I'm mad about that. I don't even care about it. I don't think I roped for money. Because I didn't have anything when I started. I mean, when I first started, I had some people help me give me a good horse. Kathy Boone give me a good horse. Said, here, go, get after him. Then I moved in and went with Roy for a little while. Then I got on that summer. Well, by the time I had a little bit put together, I got on this drugs and shit so bad that I spent it all. So guess what? In 1990, I borrowed $5,000 from my father-in-law for the 4th of July. 2 weeks after I got married. So I know what it means to have it and not. But we're a little different. I never changed. I just would walk through the mud and go to the cleaners. Walk through the mud and go to the cleaners. And JB's kind of like that to me, and he never let them change him. I see so many guys that and you do too, you've seen them since you were little. Change with winning.
Always.
And that just, I'm always thinking, man, don't change. Whether it changes personality-wise or competition-wise. But they're going to try to change you. But I was so lucky. I saw Ty Murray, and I'll tell you, the only reason I have the first 2 all-arounds is because Ty was hurt. And I talked to him on the phone. And I think the first time I've said this the other day on an interview, I think it was St. Louis or somebody got hurt at a bull riding. And I was riding across the parking lot at Reno, and Sam Duval came across there and said, "Hey, you better get entered up. Ty's hurt. Here's your chance." And I was like, "Is he hurt or injured? Because if he's hurt, he'll come back. I know him." And he said, "No, I think he's really." So next day or 2, I called and I said, "Hey, checking on him first. I said, "You hurt bad?" Because I didn't know how bad it was back then. We had bag phones. Not everybody had a phone. And he said, "Man, shoulder, got to have surgery." I said, "If you're hurt, I'm gonna enter up. But if You're not, I'm not, because I can't beat you. I know in 3 events. And he said, no, man, get after it. And that's 95. I won my first one.
Right.
You know, but I had that much respect for him on his end to not try to beat him.
Right.
I mean, honestly.
You'd have just wasted money. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like Trevor. Everybody said, well, ain't even no competition. I said, guys, until Stetson Wright came along, which is a breath of fresh air, I think, for rodeo.
Absolutely.
We needed it. We needed it bad. Until he came along, there wasn't even going to be a challenger for Trevor.
No.
You know, which Trevor's already done, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying until Stetson Wright came along.
No, absolutely. Well, there's just not enough depth of guys who are willing to commit the way Trevor committed to all these different things.
And I tell everybody, you know, I've been in his house. You know, he tied steers in the morning, and then we team rope, and then we rope calves, and we tie. I mean, that's what I think. And Ty said one time, and it was one of those years, and he said, man, you'll learn that all around's not won, it's earned.
Right.
And it is.
Because it's more of a grind than it is anything else.
And especially back then, there wasn't back-to-back. You know, and there wasn't so many one-headers, like big. And I'm all for the big one-headers. I think they're awesome. But anyway, there was a lot of back and forth with 2 events, you know, 2 head, and it was just.
Well, and just to mess around with the steer roping in itself.
Yeah, and I used to I'd duck off and go to them when I could, you know, and it, you know, I didn't make the final. I didn't go hard enough to make them because they weren't that good back then. I mean, I made them once in '88.
Yeah.
Because they made fun of me in '87 because I was in there, and I thought, okay, you son of a bitches, I'm gonna, and I made them the next year and my nose at them and didn't go back. But the steer open, Trevor, if he the worst thing could happen for steer ropers is if he wanted to buy his card back and just steer rope for the next 5 years because you get 5 more buckles.
Yep.
I mean, that's his best event.
Right.
He is a dominant force.
He's amazing.
He's a dominant force. And I know them other guys rope good. They got gold buckles. Don't get me wrong. But that Trevor Brazil's dominant in that event, I think.
Guys, let me remind you how much we love Pendleton whiskey and how much you'll love it too. Here's the thing with Pendleton. It's not on every single shelf in the entire country. Sometimes you go to those small towns where the small rodeos are and you can't find Pendleton. That's where drizzly.com comes into play. Satisfy your inner cowboy by purchasing your bottle of Pendleton whiskey online. Buy it online at drizzly.com. Put it in the trailer. Pendleton blended Canadian whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Pendleton Distilleries, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And please drink responsibly.
But I was so lucky because I competed with those and I competed with Ty, okay? I never saw those 2 guys unapproachable.
No.
And they were the king. Ty was at his time and Trevor was at his time. And I never saw them unapproachable at any time.
I mean, nobody walks by Trevor without him acknowledging you.
That's what I mean.
He's just a good guy.
Yep. And I rodeoed with him a couple years there, and we hung at the finals. We rode out to the finals every night to the rodeo and limo together, and for 2 or 3 years. And I really treasured that, you know. And I got to rodeo with the guys. You know, Fred and I used to get together over the 4th, and we'd get a plane, and we'd get at it, you know. And I got to go. You know, Fred lived with me for a while, and you know, I've been with the best of those times, those guys, and I've seen a lot of different ways that they react to people, and I've seen a lot of different ways that they dealt with different situations, and you know, I try to take all that and put into the guys that, you know, stay with me, rope with me, or whatever, and try to tell them, hey man, this you do what you want, but this didn't work for this guy.
Right.
You know, this worked for this guy, and you know, maybe that way you can kind of help them along.
Yeah, I think so. And tie down's a unique one, right? Because we got to see some really unique characters. I mean, when I was growing up as a little kid, it was you, it was Fred, and then it was Cody.
Yeah.
And then right after that, Trevor came along. And just watching the Joe, the Fred, the Cody thing, I mean, it was probably for me, I don't think anything, at least as a fan, will compare to the tie down back in those days.
Oh, no. I don't think so either.
It was just, the tension was amazing.
And it was a competition.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, and I'm not knocking nobody roping today, but it was a kind of a funny deal. Troy Pruitt and I talked about this in Brent Lewis the other day. Me and Brent was at a junior roping.
Yeah.
When it was all of us, those guys there, I think we were a little more, I don't want to say it out of context, but I think we're a little dirtier to each other. Because if you misstrung one and you were ahead of me and was going to win, I will stomp you in that go around.
Yep.
I'd win the go around if you should have and didn't.
Yep.
And then you were behind me.
Yep.
And that was Fred, that was Brent, Cody, that was Sean. You know, I mean, it was a dirty. You know, Cody. I'll never forget one year in the 10th round, I was like 7-1 or 2 or something. And they said, come get a little flag horse, get ready for it. I said, nope. And they said, there's only 2 guys left. And Cody, all he's got to do is tie him down and win. I said, no, I'm not letting those stirrups out get on until that Cody old ropes. Yep. Because all I did was light a fire in him. Yep. And he's got the best calf on him. But, and I remember, I can't remember the flag guy, big tall guy. He kept saying, he's just got to tie him down to win the world. Get on. We're going to be late on production. I said, I'm not getting on. Yep. And sure enough, he's 6'9".
Yep.
That's just kind of how we were. Fred, I remember one year, I messed up somehow. He come back that same night. I think I broke a barrier. Me and him was back and forth to win it. And I think I broke a barrier. He came back that night and won the round just to make sure that I knew that he had me.
Right.
You made a mistake. Guess what? I'm fixing to put the icing on you right here and win the go round.
Yeah.
It was a fun time to rope. But the same deal, we did that and then we get on plane together.
Yeah.
And now I think the guys, they miss some of that camaraderie, and I think they miss some of that. Over the 4th, hey, we get one year it was Fred and Cody, and it was Fred, Cody, Jeff Chapman, Blair Burke, Jeff Yates, me, and Mike Beers, and somebody else. Okay, that was about 4 of the top 10 guys buddying. Because back then we'd buddy 2 groups. We get on plane, we go everywhere together. Yeah. And send our horses in a rig together. We didn't, it wasn't so much, we were not togetherness, but it wasn't so much separate. You know what I mean? And we were going to beat each other, but we were also going to be there together.
Yeah. I mean, and that's such a hard concept for, like, when I talk to people from different backgrounds about rodeo and explain to it, like, they don't understand how that's possible.
Yeah.
Right. I've got professional athlete friends in a lot of different sports, and they can't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't get it. Yeah. They don't get it. And I think free agency killed a lot of that too.
Right.
In pro sport, I think they just, now it's just who's going to pay me the most to do the,
there's no loyalty to the team for sure. Yeah. But I don't love team sports that much anymore since all this
me neither
crap. I really, really like individual sports, boxing, even though it's, we know it's goofy, but still there's an element to boxing and things like that. Like, your era, I mean, look at what Mike Tyson was doing, similar stuff, way more in the spotlight. I mean, he came out of it the other side, but I don't know. It's just, rodeo's just unique. And I think everybody, if they could open their minds, and like, you're never going to get the people who are like, oh, poor calf.
Yeah, never.
Right? They don't understand how hard it is to take care of.
Look at the bareback horse. He's got a thing on him. You're not going to get those. You're right.
But do we even want them? I don't think so.
Because I think there's plenty others, like you said earlier.
Everything
plenty
is a gray area, and most people exist in the gray area, right? So if we say the people who fully support rodeo, live in rodeo, are the anomalies that they don't just want to burn. They want to burn everything down, right? Even though they work at Starbucks, they don't like Starbucks. They want to burn that down too. Forget those people. You're never going to get them. It's the gray area, which is the whole reason this show's set up the way it is. There's a reason we don't just have rodeo people on. Yeah. We grab people from politics, other sports, outdoor influencers, actor, whatever we can get. Because it's like, whoa, if they see this, they're like, well, what is all this? Yeah. We invited people to the NFR who've never seen a rodeo last year. Like, big influential people who saw the show and were like, well, come to the rodeo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you think they went and did when they got home? They went and bought some damn horses and a truck and a trailer. Yeah. And now they're living it.
Well, and we've got so many people outside of the industry that are big into something else. There's so much rodeo involved, Yeah. I mean, take Pick. Yep. I remember when Pick first started coming to the finals years ago, we went and had dinner. I don't even know. I mean, Brody was still alive then, so this has been a long time ago, and I didn't even know what Grey's Anatomy was really. We watched it, but I didn't pay attention. But Pick's been in there. They just signed, I think, for the 18th or 19th season to do Grey's Anatomy again, and his main joy. I mean, that's his gig, and he loves it. But he calls. We talk once a week, see how John's doing, and where's he at, and how's his roping going, and what he been doing. I mean, there's so many of those out there, There is. I can remember back in the 80s running with C. Thomas Howell. Now he's back roping and stuff. I see the other day and riding and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, they're out there. You're right. Our people, and it's not, and I'm different, man, I guess. I don't know. I don't care what you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you live. I don't care what color you are. I don't care about none of that. Man, I've always tried to look inside, if you got a good heart and you got some try, I don't care if you live in New York City and you wear high heels and you go, I don't care.
Doesn't matter at the end of the day.
I think when you start judging is when you start limiting, you're limiting your care and your real help for people. You know?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of that is what you hit and what you people need to hear is that, you know? I mean, it's just like, to me, it's just like a rodeo anywhere you want to go. If somebody takes time to buy a ticket to go to that rodeo, they care enough to help you because they're helping you.
Absolutely.
And that's what the contestants on my thing need to stop and think about. Hey, if they're buying a ticket, they're helping you, right? So if 10 years later after your career's over, you got a chance to help the soccer league and that town was good to you and sponsored you or whatever, you know, help the soccer league.
Yeah.
What's a couple $100? You know, they may give you a $5,000 sponsorship 10 years ago or 50. It don't matter. You know, a little give back gets a lot back to you.
It does. Yeah. No, and I agree 100%. Now I want to go way back, right? Because we got into a lot of really cool existential, almost philosophical things. That always happens on this show. We always do that because I get real passionate about that stuff.
But that's the difference, you know?
We just have a feeling here.
Hey, that's the difference. That's why this show's all right. Good, because you go from your heart and you don't come from the headlines.
No.
Hey, man, headlines don't mean shit.
They don't. And usually they're fake.
Headlines don't mean shit. History does, and what your heart says does.
Absolutely. And then I think the majority of people crave that so much because everything's just fake. Mm-hmm. Like, so when you come at them like the way you do or like I try to do or other people do, it's like most of those people who live in the fake can't handle all that.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
You know,
and it's so different when I was rodeoing in the 80s because, I mean, I've seen guys, you know, grab judges.
Yeah.
And I've seen them square off over the barrier wasn't right, whatever. You know, I mean, in today's world, that just didn't accept it. You know, oh, my gosh.
No, that's people aren't allowed to be, especially men. Like, men are not allowed to be what men kind of are.
They're trying to take us away from it.
They are.
Yeah, they want everybody to be pansies. I mean, weak and easy, and, you know, I'm just not that. Sorry.
Yeah, but because it doesn't fit a narrative, and it's intimidating to certain groups.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what people don't realize is no matter what, those are the real minority groups. It's not people of a different ethnicity or color that are minority. Mm-hmm. It's the mindset people, right? The weak, I call them soy boys. People hate that. But the weak soy boy type people, I see, don't judge my terms, Ty, that they can't influence people, you know, and it's creeping into our world for some reason. It tries. And it's
it does.
God dang, why are we being so politically correct? We're freaking cowboys. Mm-hmm. You know, that doesn't make sense.
Nope.
We're cowboys. Like, you know, we're the original
It's going to be a little rough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, I'm sorry. It's going to be a little rough. Go back and watch the old Westerns. They weren't all made up.
No. No, I mean, those are the original gangsters, the cowboys. And
that's right.
There's a reason that all these things have adapted from that lifestyle. You know, and that's what's so great about rodeo. I mean, rodeo is, even barrel racing can be tougher than shit.
Oh, and let me tell you something. I say this, and I say it with all respect, but I don't care who you are. Right now, if you want a rodeo, if you want a team rope or barrel race, you are in the worst period in your life. That is the toughest two events in rodeo. I'm telling you, there is not a room to, if you fart during a run, you're going to get beat. Because it is just unbelievably tough.
Look at these people.
It is just unbelievable how tough those two events are.
Yeah, and I have known my sister Ivy since she was born.
Yep.
And I've seen how she's excelled in other things, and we've talked. I'm like, you would have probably been easier to go to the Olympics in your other sport.
Yeah, because that barrel race, I'm telling you right now, partner, when there's 150 show up and it's 1632 to 1644, and that's 10 or 15 money, you know, it's a roll the dice at Vegas deals what it is. Yeah, and the team roping,
you can't even tell you can't tell the difference between these runs anymore.
No. When you're commentating, you better find some place to say why that was a little longer, because the runs look the same the naked eye. You know, there's a slip here and there, and they don't want you talking about the ground. But hey, I'm not gonna have that girl come get on me.
No.
I'm gonna go on and take a chance of the higher ups getting on me and say he slipped for a reason. Yeah. And I'm not picking on the ground. I'm just saying what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find something, because these animals, they're freaks. They're just freaks. And
these headers and team ropers are freaks.
They're freaks.
When you put the barrier a foot or two over and there's 3 second runs, all you couch potato headers and heelers, just go practice one day and let a tail to the pin.
Sit on the couch, set your dummy 20 yards away, and see if you can even get your rope close.
And they're 3.6 and 3.7 and 3. I watched some runs this last week.
Dustin is like, dude, how does that guy do that?
And it's not an accident. I watched Nelson Wyatt be 3.6 or 7 or something today, and he said, 1/3. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's just.
There weren't even 3-second runs 20 years ago.
No, 15, what's 06? 15 years ago or so? 20?
Something like that. Yeah.
So I remember at the finals the last time I met him in 06, Cole Bigby and I was 3-9 the last round.
Yep.
That was the only 3 all week.
Yep.
And now if you're not 3, you don't hardly win a go-around. And it's the same setup. Steers may have been a little bigger back then, a little heavier, okay, whatever. But as far as that goes, it's the same setup.
But look at these head horses. Look at how bred to be headers. These head horses have changed.
Yeah.
They're animals. The speed that these head horses have is the same speed that the barrel horses had 20 years ago.
And these guys now, I can remember when I first, because way back there, I didn't care about team roping all the time because it wasn't equal money.
Yeah.
It didn't pay nothing. It was
yeah.
terrible. But as I started, the money got better, and I started trying all around, and I was team roping all the time. I remember the first year I made them, I got a tape from the year before, and I'd watch Speedy and fast forward it.
Yep.
I watched Speedy and fast forward it. That's all I watched because I said, he's got it figured out.
Yep.
He knows how to throw coming across there.
Yep.
And everybody else has to ride to throw.
Yep.
And now, if there's 70 headers, 50 know how to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
because everybody's teaching it, right?
Yep,
if you go to
that's
these
right.
team roping clinics, anybody who can teach it, that's your retirement right there. Doing clinics of any kind for rodeo.
Yep.
That's all I tell my dad. Don't worry about buying broodmares and breeding programs. Just go do your clinics and you'll retire.
I do 20 a year probably.
Yeah.
I probably do 70 or 80 private day deals lessons. And I'm telling you, in the breakaway, I tell them every day, you've got to catch a lot to win, but you have got to have that. You've got to have that bomb in your bag to step back and throw to the end zone.
Yep.
Because if you don't, there's going to be enough of them that do.
Yeah, and some people there's some genetic factors there. Some people just never gonna have it.
Yeah, that's right. And you do the best you can with those that you do. But what's funny is, I'm probably doing, I don't know, probably. Say I got 20 big ones booked this year. I bet 12 of them are just breakaway. All girls, all breakaway.
I can't even understand how fast breakaway is taking off.
Oh, it's and it's been needed. It's good, but they get, you got to remember too. One reason it's good is because of the rodeo.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a fan. And I guess I gotta watch how I say this, but I've always wanted rodeo to progress.
Yep.
Rodeo, I'm not big on standalone events.
Right.
I'm not big on the steer open. I can understand.
You're never going to be able to get that.
That's right. So I can understand them having the big jack, when they can and count them. But the other ones, it scares me when they have standalones because we got to keep it together to keep it going forward. You know what I mean? So with me saying that, the breakaway, I don't know how it's ever going to get meshed right into the NFR and stuff, but it's gained so much notoriety and it's grown so fast that it's a whole new world for the girls.
It's great.
And it's going to be good.
A female all around, that's amazing. You get the right girl who wins that female all around in the barrels and the breakaway. Superstar.
Yep. But it all starts. It all goes back to like you talked about going to the junior rodeos, doing all you can to get to them, building on your way, going to clinics and learning. However you got to do it to get there, and then you, on the other hand, you hitting the audiences like you're doing with this show to where you're not. We're not educating them, but we're letting them know what's out there. Yeah. And we're letting them know what rodeo's really about, or what soccer if you get a soccer player next week, or what truck driving is if you get a truck driver next week.
Right.
That's what this show's unique about, and what I think you've done so good with is you've opened the door to let people see inside of whatever you're doing that day.
Well, look at some of the biggest stars in rodeo, right? There's never been like a outlet where you can hear what's the most Haley talk about a dumb gas station for 25 minutes and talk about the issues that she's been going through and the struggles in her life. And really you watch, because of the way TV works, you get to hear, man, I just love this horse, man. It's a God-given horse. And that's great, but you don't know anything more about her than you did before. And
I think that's another thing they need to stop and redo.
Yeah.
I think they need to just kind of be more realistic of what that was about that night. You know,
I've always wanted a commentator.
I had the top of the ground. I was supposed to win the rodeo. You know, first out. I did, and I had the fastest time. Or this, you know, that bull. Nobody bucks off that bull. I was supposed to ride him. I won it because everybody bucked off.
I want arrogance in rodeo a little bit because it creates excitement. Like anybody in the freaking world could say what they want about Cody O.
Yeah,
I mean anybody.
Yeah, but
that freaking attitude he had. There's a reason that he was doing what he was doing with sponsor money and the whole crew was doing. Like, there's a reason Cody was a big deal.
You dang right there is. And I'm going to tell you something else. There's a reason when he backed in there that everybody watched, us included, because you knew he was still, you know. And I'm going to tell you about Cody, and I've known him since he was 12 years old. The one thing you can know that Cody O was going to do when he backed in there was going to give his guts.
Yep.
He laid it all out. He left it laying in the arena. You know, that's how we all grew up down there.
Yep.
That we didn't know any better. That's how we were all, you know, Fred didn't have nothing. Cody didn't have nothing. You know, we didn't have, but it was not a pity deal. But I'm saying that's all we knew to get what we wanted.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you got with Cody O is you got 110% every time, no matter what he had to do to give it to you.
Yeah. I think people need to appreciate that more for what it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, go back and look in the record books. And like I told, you know, Fred and I was talking about this one day. One thing about what we've done, it's there, and it's not going to get taken away.
No,
whether
never.
they appreciate it, hate it, love it, look at it, never know it, we know it's there. We did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to jump way, way back because one thing I don't ever see much about is you don't really talk about your childhood all that much. And so I'd like to know a little bit about that. Like, I know the rodeo and all that because anybody who roped calves better be studying Joe Beaver, Fred Whitfield, Cody O, and, of course, Trevor. Like, if you ever wanted to rope calves, you'd be dumb not to look at that stuff. And you go back and look at the NFRs from 87 to 2000. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it is a lot of roping. But I tell you what, my rope, like I grew up, like I said, you know, I didn't grow up in a big place. We had 4 or 5 acres, and my dad worked in an oil field. And my mom run the feed store. The only paying job I've ever had is unloading box cars of feed at the feed store.
Really?
And it was in June after school, and I don't know, I was probably 8th grade or freshman. Somewhere out there, and it was 187 degrees, and them guys were throwing them bags at me fast, you know, and I drove load that truck up from the train across the street, and we drive it over and unload the feed store. I got back over and I went and told my mom, I said, you know what, I can rope. I will be able to rope good enough. I ain't doing this shit.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I mean, I learned to rope honestly on a Shetland pony and goats. I had a little old pen out behind the barn, and my dad he worked a lot. He was in the oil field. He's on 24-hour call.
Did he rodeo at all? Or?
He roped. He was just a student of the game.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy an amateur, one a week, maybe one jackpot. You know, He wouldn't go much, but he was a guy that he was such a student of the game that he'd see something them guys beat him with, and he'd come home, we'd try it. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think that, you know, I can remember, man, I rode a bareback rig and a rope. I had 3 goats and a Shetland pony. Mm-hmm. And that's because some days he wasn't there and I wanted to rope.
Yeah.
And he was afraid I'd hang up a saddle. So he got me a bareback rig and I tied my rope on a pad. And I rope, no stirrups. I learned, I ride long stirrups today because of that, I think.
Yeah.
But I can remember we'd go into jackpots and come back home. And as I got to where I progressed, I remember he'd tell me, he said, you got to learn to use your rope like Bubba Kendricks. There's an old guy down there right now. He's 70. I think Bubba's probably 76, and if they opened the breakaway up at the American deal, I would enter him for half and carry him and put him on a horse if I had to.
Yeah,
he can fire. He's dusting squeezing the calf rope. He's unbelievable. Anyway, he said if you can learn to use your rope like that and flank and tie, there was a guy named Mark Dearman, and he should have made the finals umpteen times if he'd ever left down there, but he wouldn't. But he was so strong and so fast to flank them, and his string was, you know, he said if you can get those two meshed together. So I would go home, and he maybe not be there a couple days that week, so I'd rope goats on my Shetland and try to fix all that, you know. And I think that's where I think that's where a lot of my, you know, I was young when I took off amateuring, man. I was, but I think my mature part, that little bit of maturity I had in my brain on roping came from that.
Right.
Because my dad would, you know, come home and tell me, well, you need to try this and this. So he'd be gone, so I kind of had to try it, you know.
Right.
But I was, I guess when I was a sophomore, I took off amateuring. I remember I went to the high school rodeos my freshman year, and state was in Seguin then, and I think I won one round, 1 second. I can make high call, whatever.
Sure.
And I can remember my mom wondering how in the heck we were going to get to nationals.
Right.
Money wise, you know what I mean? Because it
course.
was a big deal. I mean, and I missed in the short goal, so it didn't matter.
Right.
And that was the last. I said, that's it. I'm done with high school. I need to go make money, because I knew when my mom was worried about how we were going to get there, then it's time. I need to start taking care of my own deal.
Yeah.
Because she was busting ass and my dad to get me to whatever.
Right. So you felt a lot of pressure to get away from your folks so that they didn't have to.
I knew they would give me their last dollar and everything, but I remember when I missed that night at Seguin, I remember the next couple of days thinking, man, if we were worried how we're going to get up there, if I do this, maybe I need to try to go to amateur and try to make money instead of buckles and saddles and whatever.
Sure.
So that next year I started amateur with a guy named David Nygaard, and I went to probably 100 and something. And in my senior year, I rodeoed with a guy named Stephen Perry, and I put my money down 265 times in my senior year and 240 times my junior year. Mm-hmm. And that's jackpots, amateurs, whatever.
Just everything.
My dad had a deal. You had to be home Monday morning in time to go to school. He didn't care if it was 7:30 and you got a shower and you made it. And I could leave every Thursday after school as long as my grades were good. I could skip Fridays.
Yeah.
And so, I just took off with them after that. I mean, we went everywhere, and I won a lot of money, and it was really good. And that's kind of when I really, thought, well, man, I might have a chance to do this,
Right.
But I think it goes back to being that kid that, we didn't have a lot. I had, my dad bought 3 calves and I tied one rope too, you know what I mean? But you learn how to, I think, be the best you can be by mentally if you don't get to do a lot of it.
Right.
I didn't run 40 a day. I had one horse, 2 calves, I pinned them 2 or 3 times. My dad, that's it.
Yep.
So I think between that Shetland and those goats and me, realizing I better be mentally sharp because I don't get to do a lot of this, Right. I remember I couldn't wait to buy my own place because I wanted lights because we didn't have any lights. Mm-hmm. And it's 380 degrees in Victoria, Texas. It's hot. Oh, it's hot. So I wanted lights and I wanted 25 or 30 head of calves and a practice horse.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
Right.
When I accomplished that, I was like, man, I got it made.
Yeah.
But I think that's what made me mentally strong. And it paid off later as I dealt with things and got hurt. I had a lot of injuries and a lot of surgeries and, a lot of stuff to bounce back from. But I think that all came from that young part of my life where I had to be mentally tough.
Yeah. Well, and you fast forward through all that and the way that you did it, and like, what was your? And I usually don't ask this, but I'm real curious just because of the times, because I'm so enamored with those times. Because like, I wish more people would be like, I was that cocaine running down from my face, and I was going crazy.
Yeah, I've never
because you can't get that from anybody now.
No.
And I'm not saying it's good.
No, I'm not either.
It's interesting.
And I'm not saying live like that.
No one should live like that. But it's real, and it's really interesting to hear about it.
Don't make those decisions like I did. But if you happen to, you can get through it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So going from that, right? So you're going to these rodeos, you're doing your thing. What was it like knowing you made your first NFR, right? Like for Joe Beaver, what was it like? What was that experience like leading up to it and then getting there?
To be honest with you, I wasn't even going to get my card.
Yeah.
I was going to the IPRA rodeos, and I was living with Tom Walker and them in Oklahoma, and Steve and I were going to all those rodeos. Well, back then, this is in 84, I guess, you couldn't have a PRCA permit and IPRA card. Well, I didn't know all that. I didn't care about rules. I didn't know about rules. You know what I mean? So I'm knocking along there, and there was an IRA guy named Dan Daly that was a king. Mm-hmm. He won all around 30 times probably, or 20 something actually. He was great. Every event. Kind of like Tom Murray just never ventured out, was
outside of his organization.
He was the whale in his sea and he stayed there,
Right.
So I was catching him and top 3 or 4 in the team rope and the calf rope and all this rocks on. Well, it's about August and they find out I got a permit, so they take all my points away.
Yeah.
So now I don't have any IRA points to make the finals. I got this permit and I'm like, man, and so I entered a couple permit rodeos. And I entered, I think Sonora. Roy. I talked to Roy because I'd been up there roped his match when I was a kid, and he called me back or whatever. So I went up there and I entered a couple rodeos, and I won Mesquite, and I placed at Sonora, and all of a sudden my permit's filled.
Yeah.
Well, now it's October. The year used to go through October.
Yep.
New Year's going to start over, and I'm like, my mom and even Jenna's like, man, you need to get your card and try it. And you get, I said, man, I don't think I can play with those guys, you know?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, you can. And then my mom is like, dude, my mom is the most driving force you've ever met behind it. You can win. I have won first at 4 out of 5 one weekend at Calder and told her, and she, what happened to the other one?
Right.
Well, I broke the break. Well, why couldn't you win 5 if you won 4? You know, she not meaning it just that she expected that good out of you.
Yeah.
And I remember her and Jenna saying, you know, get your card and try it. Get it and try it. So I was like, you know, I'll try it. I'll see. So I got my card. First rodeo I ever went to was in 85 at Wichita, Kansas. It was the first one of the year. And Kyle Stewart, boy, worked for Roy back then. He and I just ran up there. And I won the first rodeo.
Yeah.
I was 8-3, and I was like, man, maybe I can play with them, you know? And then the finals went on, you know, and I went to Denver, and I won around at Denver, and I won around at Fort Worth, and all of a sudden it was just like, this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But that first year was just like, I just kind of blew through it as easy. And I get to the finals, and, you know, I get lucky, and things work out, and I win it. I'm like, well, then 86 rolls around. And, man, this is great. This is party time and fun, and I half-ass practice and half-ass got horses and shit. You know,
because it kind of all went to your head, maybe?
I just thought it was easy. I thought they can't have this thing without me.
Especially if you were a kid who didn't ever have anything.
Yeah, all of a sudden I got all this stuff, buy me a place, you know, and I got money and I'm winning. Well, they can't have Vegas without me next year. There's no way.
Right.
And I remember I had been to some rodeos down south somewhere, so I went home to check. You know, back then we got, if you won the world, you used to get a United card.
Yep.
And it's $15,000 with free flying a year. Well, that was a ton of flying back then. So I'd fly to everywhere. You know, I may have flew home for a few days, check on them or whatever. And I remember, you know, back then we didn't have the internet. We couldn't check standings. There was a paper twice a month or whatever, you know, sports news. And my dad was like, hey, what are you going to do? What do you got going on in December? And I said, why? He said, man, I got some kids coming down. You can come down and rope with us. And I said, December's the finals, man. You know that. I'm busy. And he tossed that sports news over there, and he said, well, then you better get your ass busy because they don't take 20. And I was 20th. And I remember opening that sports news, and he looked at me, he said, yeah. He said, they're going to have that without you, boy. You better get busy and get to working on it. And it scared me to death. I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna be one of those guys that win the world and don't make the finals again.
Yeah.
And man, I got busy that fall, and I won. They used to have the Winston Tour rodeos. Remember that? I don't know, you're too young, but you might have seen them. They had the tours. And I was the number 1 draft pick that year. So I got, you know, and they had 3 left.
Yep.
And man, I went home and bought Kez, and I turned out for about 2 weeks, and I stayed home and roped. And I needed those ropes, but those tours paid real big, you know?
Right.
And I remember there was 3 of them left. I think I won 2 out of the 3 and made them. Yep. But that was, I think, that was the slap that I needed, that if I wouldn't have got, it may not have turned out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because like I said, and then, you know, it was just, and then I tell you, the next year, you know, I wrote good. It was mine to win. I went the next year. Then that's when I started having the big knee problems, you know, and I hurt my knee, and, you know, I got on back then pain pills wasn't no deal, you know, and I was already.
Yeah, no one knew what the opioids were doing back in those days.
You know, and in those days we were already rolling, and we had pills, and we had the cocaine, and we drank, and we rolled. Well, I could get by, you know, I could stay on enough painkillers I could go, and I didn't just let over to more drugs and staying up longer and not sleeping, and then it just took its toll, you know. And I won it in 88. Really and truly, like J. Pat wanted to do that. Who was there before Tandy? He was where Tandy took over. J. Pat Evans. He wanted to do surgery on me in August, and I said, man, I got to make the Steer Open finals. I got the finals. He said, well, you ain't gonna make it. You're not. Your knees tore up. You're not gonna make it. And I said, I'll be fine, you know. And I just stayed looped up, man. Just completely out of, you know.
Just glazed for the whole year.
Just blazed out. I couldn't even talk if you told me something, you know. And I made it through the Steer Open finals, and it went out. And I tell you how bad it was. Everybody knew how bad a cripple I was. Buddy Lytle was a flag man back, and he was a hard ass as you want to ever meet. And I won a placing around one night, and when I threw my hands up in the steer open, my knee popped out, and I fell out. And so I'm trying to get to my horse to ride it. You got to ride, turn him around, you know. And he said, stay there. He let somebody turn my horse around.
Really?
Didn't flag me out. You know, I mean, it was just. And I get to finals, and I get by because of tape jobs and the drugs and all that. And then the next year it's surgery, you know, I'm out forever, and I don't win shit, you know, and come back and I'm battling through, you know, and Jen and I get married in 90. That next year I go stay at Lee Ferris's out in California. He's a good friend of mine. Then I get Brody comes along. Nothing's any better. My knee's no better. Got to have another surgery. Stay on the shit. Then it all just bangs me out. February 6th, 91, boom, there you go. Get up, change your life, or I'll keep you where I'm at. Dead for too many minutes. I shouldn't be, if you wake up and they're asking you, who's the president, what town you're in, what's your mother's maiden name, and what's your driver's license number. If you ever get those questions, you're in a bind.
Yep.
And luckily to me, I answered them all and I'm fine. They couldn't believe it, But I think in 86, when my dad threw that sports shoes over and said, taking 20, and in 91, when I OD'd, I think those are the two things. They all say you got 3 strikes. I've tried to stay away from the third one because I had 2 big ones. But I think they made my life, good or bad, judge me how you want, but I think that they made my life what I am today to be able to go and do.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And to be able to look at it all like that and then say it on a platform, everybody's going to hear that.
Yeah, it's just
not something you've hidden. I mean, it's out there. But it's still, though, when you have to go back and think about that stuff, it's got to be, it's got to be hard for you. I think it's probably hard for Jenna to hear it all sometimes.
And
I see she's kind of squirmy a little bit.
And she went through it with me. We've been married 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
Haven't we? 30 years, And Brody would be 30 or 29, 30 this year. You know what I mean? He's been 10 years he's been gone.
He was born in 91, right?
Yep.
The same year I was born.
Yeah, he's it's 10 years that I've had to live, with, and you always go back. And here's my deal. Once you lose, you don't get it back. You never do. It's just like if I lost a gold buckle one year. I broke the barrier in the 9th round. All I do is tie 2 down. And everybody said, if you'd have just backed off, that wasn't me. I tried to win the 9th round. I lost about $13 to Herbert or something,
Right.
But all I had to do was tie 2 down. Everybody knew it. The average was I was 5 seconds ahead. That isn't me. I tried to win the round. I broke the barrier. That's me. Big deal. I got to live with it.
Yep.
I OD'd. Hey, I had to bounce back. We had no money. We didn't have no money then, did we? Like none. No money. And I was in El Paso, and Jenna's in San Antonio waiting to pick us up, and Brody's this long. Well, God told me right there, he slapped me in the head and said, hey, guess what? Either you're going to lose all this, or you got a chance to make it back. What you want to do? Don't get me wrong, I'm no gazillionaire, got it made and all that, but I've got a lot compared to what I had that day, and I'd already had 3 gold buckles.
Yeah.
I had it made, but drugs and lifestyle had just taken it away.
Right.
So when I bounced back from it, and man, Fred Whitfield and I have been a million miles together, and I look back and see where he came from and where Cody came from, and even Brent, was a little old, they didn't have a lot of, and that's my guys in that time. Mick Mullen, Blair, Troy Pruitt, I had all these guys that were just so competitive, but good guys, at the time, good guys. And when I got to go back and go with them again and realize that, hey, you know what, there's a different life out here. I don't have to hang over here and live like that anymore. I've got this other chance.
Right.
That just made me a better roper. Then I came back, but it took knocking my shoulder out and killing me. Luckily I came back before I could realize all that.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of kids out there today that don't realize maybe that talent they have. I got a girl that comes to my schools. She's got all these offers to go run track. Mm-hmm. All these, like a bunch of them. But she wants to rope. And I said, listen. And I got a boy. Ropes too. He's quarterback. He's got a chance to go in the draft system next year. They're watching him.
Yep.
But he loves to rope. He wants to rope. All he wants to do. And I tell them both, listen, if I don't die, I'll be here when y'all go give, I tell the young girl, go get you an education. Go get something for that. Use that. Right. And we'll rope. I'll be here. I'll help you win. And I tell my boy, quarterback, if they'll pay you, you go get that money.
Yep.
If it's 2 years, if it's 4 years, whatever, when you're done, I'm in the same spot I've been 20 years. Come on, we'll rope, and I'll help you make the finals. But don't waste it.
Because you get the opposite, right? Because that's one of the unique things about my sister, and I don't talk about her much on the show because people make jokes about it, but she had a bunch of Ivy League offers to play her sport.
Yes.
And there was a lot of pressures, and she was so fixated on barrel racing that she threw it away. Now she regrets it.
Yeah, because
Ivy will tell anybody, I wish I would have went and tried to go to the Olympics.
Yep.
In volleyball and all that, because I had a path and I had people willing to invest in me to do it, and then come and done the barrel racing.
Yeah. And you know what, though? And I hate it for her because that's that loss that I was talking about that you don't get back.
Yep.
You know, I lost a buckle because of me. It was just me.
Right.
And I was that kind of guy. I was always going to do it myself. I lost to myself. I did it to myself.
Right.
Okay, and I can live with that.
Yep.
But if I safety up and don't go at that one and miss one, you missed that good one because I backed off, then I felt like I lost. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I hate that for her, and that's why I try to tell these other my track girl, my quarterback, go live that, because maybe that's that turn that you need to take to appreciate the rest of this later.
Well, and it creates a better story. I mean, it creates a really good story. Oh, a D1 track athlete now.
Yes.
Gold buckle
making
winner.
the finals. Yeah, and now she's going to make the finals on breakaway, whatever.
Or
It's like Bear
NFL.
Pasco.
Bear Pasco, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Bear,
played for
same
NFL.
thing, yeah. And I think that's cool, and I think that's stuff that we need to feel comfortable with as athletes to be able to step out and do our deal.
I agree, 100%. Yeah, and those are the types of people who can bring way more growth than you and I could ever bring.
Huge difference to our sport.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
Bears, that's a big deal.
You damn right it is. That's a huge deal, and you take my boy, if he happens to get drafted and he gets to play a year or two or whatever it is, hey, man, that's huge,
It's big, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And talk about a sport that needs a guy like Bear. I mean, steer wrestling needs it.
Yep.
Yeah, that sport needs it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Bareback's gotten what it's needed with thanks to Steiners and his rigging rallies and all the stuff being invested in that, the right people going right now. But I mean, both those sports, I mean, they were bottom of the entries.
They were hurt.
What do you got? 80 bareback riders and
total.
84 steer wrestlers total.
Yeah. And I tell you, the junior deals helped a lot with the steer wrestling. Yeah, and I think when the junior, I say all the time, I think the junior high, now the they since junior high. They call it, I think, finals or whatever now, the big. Okay, I think that helped high school rodeo immensely.
It did.
I think high school rodeo helps college rodeo immensely. And I think the amateur levels in college are what build into the pros. And I tell all my people in my clinics, if they offer you a free roll and you're rodeoing, or you're playing volleyball, or you're whatever, and it's at Fort Worth University and you want to go to Dallas University, take it.
Yep.
Because after about 3 months, it's the same restaurants, the same pool halls, the same bar,
care.
the same whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But take what you can get, and then you can build from that. Because
absolutely.
It's such a day and age. Even for me, say me trying to enter John and them.
Yeah.
I have to just pull the app up and explain how to use all. You know what I mean? It's not a day of. And I say this with very, very guarded, but it's not the day for the ignorant to win.
No.
The non-educated to win, because traveling and entering is totally different now. So you got to have some sense, some smart to you, to know where to go and how to go, and
Or you're going to be sitting around with these freaking webs connecting. You're going to miss rodeos. It's going to be a problem.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I tell all my people, if they'll give an education, go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it, because who knows if you're going to tear a knee up or horse fall on you or tear your shoulder up riding, or.
How many people do you know who, for whatever reason, financial fallout, injuries, or whatever, are working jobs right now that, not great jobs.
Too many.
Because
Too many.
They didn't do that. And it takes two, three things, and you can't ever rodeo again.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a lucky person. I tell everybody I'm going to win the lottery one of these days because I'm that lucky.
Total anomaly. You're an anomaly, yeah.
I'm a lucky person because if just say I didn't get, my shoulder didn't come back after I OD'd and fell out, or I didn't have Brody around to save me, him and Jenna, they just leave right then, and I don't have all this playing out like it did, I may not have nothing, and I probably wouldn't even be alive.
Yeah.
If I'd have kept living that way. And I had 3 gold buckles already.
Yep.
And I had a place paid for, a little place, 10 acres, but it's mine. I had all this, but it wasn't going to matter because I wasn't going to have shit.
Yep.
So that's what that's another part that's good about what you're doing, is you're letting people realize that you can make it. You can make it doing this sport now, buddy. I'm telling you can make good money. You can live.
PRCAs, WCRAs, the American, just the money you can win. We got people in the WCRA with 6-digit earnings right now. That doesn't even count with what you get from rodeo.
Then you can leave the American in Calgary and win second in both of them, like a buddy of mine did, and win $50,000. I used to have to rope.
What world is this?
I mean, it's good. You got kids. Kobe, my little old boy. What did he win? 10 or 12,000. Kobe. He won 12,000 at the junior deal, you know, at the Vegas Junior or wherever it was, you know, Fort Worth.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is that'll help him. I mean, he's going to have, he ain't the only one. Josie Connor, take Josie.
Yep.
Okay. 18 years old, whatever she is. Now she get the beauty of that is she's young enough to double dip. She goes to all the junior opens. You know, we all have big junior opens.
Oh, yeah.
And she's ropes good enough to go all the other. You know, she was 200,000 last year.
Yeah, little Riley Webb, he's one of those kids.
Riley Webb, same thing, double dips, and he's winning probably 150,000.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a great time to do it. You know, Ty Hayes is my buddy. I used to rodeo with Ty Hayes, you know, and tons of talent.
Yep.
Tons of talent went the other way, and it cost him a lot. But he's got a little boy rides bulls right now, and he rides good. And I'm one of his sponsors. You know, I mean, but when I tell Ty was telling me they went some little boy ride and paid $1,000. He's still 10 years old.
Yep.
That means we're going the right direction. You know, we are in the right. If we can
building depth.
Yep.
Which means we're going to have the best athletes we've ever seen doing it in the next decade and a half.
I think so.
You know, you look at some of these PBR guys, and it blows your mind how athletic they are. Just wait until it's these kids that have all this invested in them.
I remember the first time I went to Brazil and did clinics down there. It was like 95 or 6 or summertime like that. I don't remember. But I remember watching those guys down there and coming back telling people, what we don't realize is we get to do what we do. They crave doing what they do. They craved roping.
Yeah.
You know, they craved bull riding. That was their way out. And you get an athlete that thinks that way, you're going to have problems.
I mean, we see it in all these other sports.
Yep. That's right.
And
that's exactly right.
You look at I'm a big UFC fan just because of how that's a transaction. It's A/B only. There's no other variables besides you and another guy.
That's right.
And I've been obsessed with that type of competition because I always loved wrestling, and I even did that for a long time. Quit rodeoing and did that for a while. But you see those guys come from like Nigeria or Brazil, and it's like they got no option. They can't go get a job at the feed store. There is no feed stores. They can't go get an office job or go to college. That doesn't exist. They got one shot,
and that's it. The Dominican, I go down the Dominican a lot. I like it down there, you know, and we got friends down there. I do clinics and stuff.
Right.
Baseball fields.
Same
or like
thing.
arenas here.
Yep.
Like going to Stephenville, seeing arenas, you go around Dominican, you see baseball. You know why? They're going to make it. That's why those guys leave there. They can hit any pitch.
Yep.
Because they know they got to hit the pitch to get out of there. And I think when you put that desire in an athlete's body, you're going to have the best you can have.
I think so. Yeah, and it puts the silver spoon Americans at a disadvantage.
Which it should.
It should.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what people want to hear. But you can't. One thing about rodeo, and barrel horses included, because I can buy sister, and if my girl does not ride a lot and know how to hang on or something, she'll get in her way and she won't win first.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, I know more people like never say names. But
I know.
With more money than God, and they bought those types of horses, and some people just
you can't buy rodeo wins. You can't buy rodeo wins. You can't buy the ride on that bull. You can't buy the run on that steer. You can't buy that barrel ride. You can't buy it without an athlete's mind and spirit in a body that can make it work.
Which is why any kid can still do it.
That's what makes it fun. That's right.
Seems like they can't because the horses cost more than ever, the trucks cost more than ever.
They can because they're going to find somebody out there that might like them, want to help them, or they might get by on less until they can get better. You know,
there's always, because we have this depth, there's people who will invest in people that they believe in. Someone will put you on a horse.
And good people.
Yeah.
You know, I tell my boys all the time, if good people, man, stop and speak, shake hands, say hi, hug the lady, be nice to them, because you never know who out there can help you and might want to.
They will. And it'll be even if you're not God's gift, or maybe you don't put everything in it.
Yeah.
Heck, I never had a good rope horse. They were nice people, and they didn't even really get along with my dad, frankly. But
they let you ride the horse.
But Jay Ellerman used to let me rope on his horses.
Yep.
And then there was all kinds of reasons why he shouldn't, but he did.
But that didn't matter.
Yep.
It didn't matter. He was helping you.
Yep.
You know, it's helping you. That's the thing. It was you. It was you, your person, your people, not your people, you personally. That's who he's helping, and that's what we do. And
people want to help kids succeed.
Yep.
So you just gotta have the balls to go out there and just ask the question.
You gotta, and I'm going to tell you too. You gotta just not worry about people.
Yep.
You know, I tell them all the time. I got some kids in my clinics, you know, that really excel, and you can tell when they come that they're almost browbeat from, you know, maybe that he's the only guy ropes good in that region, you know, or whatever in that state. He's that dominant or whatever.
Yep.
But, you know, people want to pull you down to where they're at. They don't want to come to where you're at.
Never will.
And I have a boy, I told that to the other day. I said, listen, man, you got to quit listening to all those people. And you got to quit reading Facebook, and you got to quit looking at whatever. You just make sure you're having fun and you're doing what you want to do, and you be nice to the people because you're beating them. Okay,
Yep.
so big deal. And he lives way off to where he is dominant, you know. But guess what? He's worked hard to get there. And they got a good horse, you know, but he ain't great. But guess what? That boy can handle it.
Yep.
And I told him, he said, well, sometimes you worry about it because they, and I said, oh, don't worry. Be yourself. Just be happy and be yourself and be good to people.
Absolutely. Well, hell yeah, Joe B. This worked out pretty dang good, didn't it?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's good, but like I said, I've listened to make sure what you're doing.
Yeah, to make sure that you could come on here and it can be real.
Yep,
Well, I'm glad you did.
and that you keep pushing the venue of what you have, which is a good open show that lets people know people are people, and that our business of rodeo is prosperous and it's booming and it's getting bigger and better.
And it's for people.
And it's for the people, but we gotta have these shows. We gotta have the TV to get to the people that we don't know.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're doing. That's what your pat on the back is right now to me. Is you're bringing it to the people.
That was the goal. I'm glad it's working, and I'm glad you came on because I think people are going to get a whole hell of a lot out of this.
Good or bad, they'll get something.
They're going to get a lot out of it. I just wish I could have captured photos of Jenna kind of squirming there when you said certain things. That would have been worth $1 million.
Yeah, she's been through a lot. She's been through a lot, man.
What was that?
Started dating in 1984.
Yeah.
Well, she's been, you know, we've had a lot and we've lost it all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've spent it all and lost it all. And then we've had it good, and then when you think it's just great, then something hits you. You know what I mean? Like, and we had it made. I was done rodeoing. We were living fine. We got it made and all that, and then we lose Brody.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a test then, and can you make through that? You know, it's just life, man.
Yeah.
You know, life is not Burger King. You're not going to get it your way, but you're going to have to deal with it how it comes.
Yeah. That's a good line. Yeah, because Burger King, they'll even give you a fake cheeseburger.
Yeah, and make you like it. You know, they think.
Exactly. Hey, can I ask you a couple questions, Jenna? Would you be comfortable coming to Ty's microphone? I'm wildly interested in knowing. These are the questions. I'm going to be very transparent.
All these years.
Well, what was it specifically that made you stay for all that? I mean, that's really tough for a woman, and I mean, I've seen women quit on way less.
Way
lots of
less.
them.
Well,
Hey, you know what
But
Barry
you
Burke
didn't.
told me one time?
What's that?
Barry Burke said a good woman and a sorry horse, or a good horse and a sorry woman will starve you to death. But two sorry ones or two good ones, you can make it.
Yep.
I just had good ones.
Well, I mean, because we're getting his stuff, and obviously, you know, there's a reason for that and all that. But I keep looking at you, and I see you kind of moving, and I want to know what it was like for you. You don't have to tell me much.
No,
but
most of it was fun.
yeah,
I was enjoyed. I always rodeoed.
Yep.
You know, I went to high school, college finals, and breakaway and goat time when that stopped.
Right.
The day you graduated college, there was nothing
It's
to
over,
do,
yeah.
and I didn't have a lot of money. My family didn't have, and I ran barrels some and had fairly nice horses. But then when we got with Joe, I could work part time and go with him, and I could still rodeo.
Right.
You know, and then I enjoyed all his friends. Now, Brody asked me one time, he said, Mom, how did you never do all the drugs and hang with them? I said, somebody had to know where we were going
right.
and how to get there.
Right.
And that was kind of what I did.
Right.
And so I had a friend tell me not long ago, I've got a couple pretty nice horses. And he said, you know, you have got to learn to be selfish. I said, what? He said, right now, you're not going because you're taking Kobe somewhere or because Joe wants to go to team roping, or you got to be selfish if you really want to go rodeo and win.
Right.
And that's just never been me.
Yeah, but hold up now. What I tell you?
I've seen your
the other
name
day?
pop up on a few things the last few
What
months.
if I told you, enter where you want, go where you
I
want?
know
I
you
don't
have,
care.
but it's just not, that's not what I did. I was always the support system.
Yeah, you have that support, almost like servant type mindset where you
Yeah.
want to please everybody and make sure you're taking care of them, right?
Correct.
But when you were going through like the traumatic things, like when he fell off and he had his experience.
I'm circling the Austin airport with a screaming baby that I'm trying to nurse and drive this rig with a trailer through Austin airport.
Right.
Because back then when they have cell phones,
they were up at Belton that morning. I was picking them up to get to Belton. And I finally parked my truck in the back 40 of this airport, truck and trailer, and 3 horses, and walked with my baby through the pouring rain into the airport, and they're paging me. Mm-hmm. So I call my dad, and he says, there's a problem. I said, what the did he do? He said, well, he's in the hospital. And I was like, anyway, I knew because the night before I didn't hear from him.
Right.
And I knew when I didn't hear from him, it was not a good sign usually.
Sure.
So Fred called me. Fred was actually stayed with him. And he called and he said, okay, this is the deal. We're going to fly into Austin tonight. Will you come get us? And I said, no, I will not. He said, oh. I said, well, I tell you what, you tell him I will come get him, but Brody will not come get him, and he will never see him again. And that's where I laid the line, and that changed everything. So
I tell everybody, though, and I tell guys now, if you look in your kid's eye and you can't stop, I don't think there's a rehab center or a person in the world that can help you. Because I said, I remember we got Bobby Mays and Nancy. Wasn't that where we were staying?
yes, that's where I went.
So we went to their house. Nancy made the finals and stuff and all that. And Bobby known me forever. I rode his horses. And I remember we left her that day, and Bobby looked at me and said, you got to get a hold of this. And I said, you know what? I have. And I went to Ronnie Wilkinson. He's dead now, but he was a big-time counselor, and he was an outlaw. That wasn't his choice, was it?
No.
He had to be. Right. He got busted and was like looking at 40 years. And instead they send him to school to be a rehab guy, and he worked for them, whatever, for however many years. So when I first went to him, he said, do you have any money left? And I said, yeah. He said, put $100 out here. And he pulled 100, and I put 100 right there at Don and Kathy Boone's table, and Brody and Jenna Little, they were sitting in there. He said, in 30 days, that'll be my money. You can't quit.
Yep.
And I said, I got to quit. And he said, you can't do it. I said, I have to. And he said, that's what I was wanting to hear. Well, you'll be fine now.
Yep.
And that's the way I felt. But it's because of her and Brody that I was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
That's what I felt. And then it, like she said, and it changed from that day on, And I mean, I went from doing a lot to none. Not just, I wasn't a weekend dapper, you know what I'm saying?
I get it, yeah.
No, his buddies told me he would probably die because he did more coke than anybody they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing. We practiced. Everybody run 10, I'd run 25.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way I was. Everybody flank and tie. When Mike Arnold lived with me, we'd flank and tie 50. And I tell the kids this, and they look at me like, and I mean, she's seen it.
That's true.
We'd tie 50 or 60 before we roped.
Right.
And then we'd rope all night. We literally, there was an old lady that lived across the street from me, and she had a rooster, a big-ass rooster now. I mean, a big one.
Yep.
And every morning, he crowed, and this old lady had a screen door. Every time she'd come out, you hear, she lived right across the road from my arena.
Yep.
So every night we come home from the bar or wherever. Most time, Jenna go to sleep. That she is going to work or going to arresting like normal people.
Right.
We turn the lights on and we roped till daylight.
Yeah.
Every night that when we were home. My refrigerator was stocked right there with Boone's Farm, not Gatorade.
Yep.
We drank Boone's Farm and did drugs and practiced all night. And we'd know it's time to quit when that rooster crowed.
Yep.
Because we turn our lights on, he'd crow. And then when daylight come up, he'd crow. We'd turn everything off. We'd go to the house and sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was how I was. I was just just kind of over the top on everything,
Right.
But it took Brody and her to bring me leveled off, and from then on, I mean, we went everywhere together till he started school really, and then even after that, I mean, but I was weird, we'd have 4 or 5 rodeos, but we'd play. I'd say, we got time to go to Disney World,
Right.
And we'd roll in Disney World, stay and go like a rodeo 4 or 5 days, have to hurry up and get out of there, I mean,
Right.
That's the way I was, but it took them to level me off to live, or I'd have been dead.
Yeah.
again.
Right. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you think about it, and like it also tells you how important the family unit is. But I mean, yeah, Jenna needs a lot of credit for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I tell her if it wasn't for her and him, I wouldn't have. I had 3 gold buckles if I even knew where they were.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that I wouldn't have had a career.
Right.
My career, I tell everybody I won good, but my career started in '91.
Right.
To me, that's when I really started remembering, enjoying, and
knowing what the hell was going on.
Yeah, and eating and going to places, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, sometimes I remember when you're Salinas on, we just bought, everybody, all 3 of us went, bought plane tickets, and everybody be like, man, that's stupid. You know how much that cost you? Or like when Brody was little, I was going to Phoenix one night. I think Brady was still alive, wasn't he? Yeah. Brady Helms was there, alive still. He was with us. And Brody come dragging down we live in a trailer house then, come down the hall, dragging a bag. Mm-hmm. And said, I want to go. So I got on the phone, bought another plane ticket.
Right.
And everybody's like, man, that costs extra. Well, now what if I wouldn't have done that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's the little things like that, I think, that changed from '91 that made it, to where now we're good. We're okay with it. We can live with things,
Absolutely.
You're not happy about it. You never forget and get over some things. I'm never going to be proud of overdosing. Don't get me wrong. I don't say that shit to be proud and save people. I try to hit people off, I'm never going to be proud of that. I'm never going to be proud of some of this stuff I've done. I'm never going to not miss Brody or think that never happened, that wasn't a hit.
Of course.
But I think with her and her dad was big in my deal. He was a big change in the way I looked at things and thought things. I think without that, man, what would I have right now? 3 buckles if I lived.
Right.
Who gives a shit about them at the end, that way.
Exactly.
If you got them in a way you can help something, and present it and be proud of it, then you got something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think.
100%. I think that is
but it was,
the biggest takeaway.
Like you said, she went through a lot of shit through the, a lot of storms to see any sunshine,
Yeah, I agree. That's why I just wanted to hear from you just a second, because I just couldn't leave you sitting there.
No, and Brody, he was having heck, with some of his addictions, and he told me one day, he said, Mom, you just don't understand addiction anyway. You've never been addicted to anything. And he sat there a minute, and he went, oh, yes, you have. You're addicted to Joe B. Nobody could put up with all that if they weren't addicted to it.
Like a bad drug.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Jesus.
That was his analogy of our relationship. I was addicted.
Well, behind every successful man, there's a woman who puts up with his shit.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
And I mean, look, man, I've been a lot of shit. A lot of shit. But the thing that makes it fun now is I get to come do stuff like this.
Absolutely. This is great.
TV is good. This is good. I get to go to high school finals and watch the kids and I got one to help. And, she's got a good horse now and she can have some fun or whatever it is about. It's not about me anymore. It was about me long enough.
Yeah.
And it has to be to make a living, to be successful, be somebody. I remember one time I was telling Brody, I've been gone a lot, and I flew in, I missed a football game, playing Pee Wee or something, and next day I was, man, Brody, I'm sorry, I've been gone so much. He said, hold up, Dad. Don't be sorry you're gone. He said, we went to Disney World. We went to, I flew on a plane with y'all over the 4th. You bought me extra seat. We did this. He said, I can't do that if you're home all the time.
Yeah.
And he said, my friend's dad's a doctor, and he's gone all the time too. And it kind of, shed light. Okay, that's kind of how I've got to be right now to make it.
Yeah. Well, and that's a smart kid to understand all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And when he did, I think, he appreciated what we got to do because of the sacrifices. But now, it's not about me, man. It's about whoever can help or have something to do with. Or if it isn't that, guess what? It's just about me being at the house kicking back.
Yeah.
Because if I never make another headline or another spotlight or what, it doesn't matter.
No.
I done what I've done.
Yep.
I'm good with it. It's like when I run my last calf. I called Jenna that day. The day before. I was trying to still rope calves. I called you the day before. Before Pinoca. Before that, I said, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
And she said, what do you mean? I said, I really think I'm done. I don't think I can do this. My hip's not, and that was back up. 06, my last year, made the finals. Places 7 rounds, went third, and average of 40 something years old, man.
Yeah.
And I had hip surgery that year, because Tanny said, man, we can get another year or two out if we do this hip surgery. I do the hip surgery in December, take 4 months off. I come back pretty good. Through the year, take 7 off. I come back in 08, and I'm back killing them. I've top 5 in both events. April the 6th, 8th, 4th. I you know how things happen for a reason. I'm at Vegas. We're at Laughlin, Logandale. You know, has a week in between. Well, that's a party week or gambling week.
Absolutely.
I'm past all that. So I just happened to call the airlines. They got a $199 flight to Houston. I said, you know what? I'm going to go home this week. Told my guy driving. I said, Mike, I'm going home. He said, yeah, cool. So I go to the airport and fly home. You never get to go home for 150 or whatever it was. 99.
Never.
You never.
Yeah, not to Houston.
Yeah, I think it was 99 back then, 06. Anyway, whatever. So I go home. I must stay home a week. I'm home the next day. I think my brother-in-law gets killed in a car wreck.
Right.
And he had dealerships, and we were all together and stuff. You had family. And when I got home, my nephew was a big-time football player, and they were all looking at him colleges, and he had shoulder surgery. So he just says, I ain't playing. I ain't working out. I ain't rehabbing. So I stayed home. I told Jen, I need to stay. This is what I need to do. So I stayed home. We tried to keep everybody together because that's a bad deal to lose your dad. You're 17, and Jackie's husband, only kid, blah, blah. So I stayed all that year. Well, now I try to crack back out. My hip's done.
Right.
And I remember calling her and saying, hey, Jen, I think I'm done. And she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I really don't. I don't care. I'm done. I can't be what I need to be, and I think I'm done. And she said, well, you know what? You've had a good career. We got a lot from it. Do what you got to do. That's why I'm going to try Pinoca tomorrow.
Yep.
And I had one strung to win the first round. Pinoca and stepped across him, and I couldn't move. Couldn't cross the legs.
Yeah.
So when I finally got up and rode out to give Chad Johnson's horse back, and I said, I was taking the stirrups up. He said, no, you'll be first tonight, the reverse order. I said, no, I'm done.
Yep.
That was it. I'm done. And I think you have to be able to walk away at some point and be okay. And so many guys aren't.
No, they aren't, because people can't let go.
Is that what it is? I don't.
Well, you see it in other sports, right? And just because
a lot, yeah.
You see it in these combat sports.
Oh, quit fighting.
It's
Please
so sad.
Quit. Yes.
You see guys who are on top of the world and they can't quit, they won't quit, and then they get knocked out 6 times in a row, and that's where they're done.
I watch MMA. I like it too.
Yeah.
And I see so many guys that are just.
It's hard to watch.
Yes. And then you see that in the rodeo events too. And that's the one thing I think I had with Jen and Brody is once I was done, it's okay. It didn't matter.
Yep.
I'd sacrifice my everything for that to get us to what we have. And after that, man, I had her and him, and it didn't matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think you got to get back to Stephenville, don't you?
Yeah. I've been
Me and you could do this all day.
I think we're going to have to do it again.
We can do this all day.
I think so.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something else. There's some
2.
times in there when you need some. I hear you do some deals on there, and you need some backup.
Yeah.
And when you do, you call me because I'm not. You don't let that. You don't change. You don't let them talk you into going to ways that you don't want to go.
Fact. You're going to hear from me.
Because I do. See, I listen when you think, because I know. There's a couple times I'm thinking, don't weaken on that. Don't.
Yep.
Be yourself.
Done.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, you bet. Thanks, Joe.
You betcha.
This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy, Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers, Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content produced by Riley Chone. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys next time.